There we go. And I can mention this other thing because it's a real quick thing because I don't have that much nostalgia for this property, but I think I kind of want to see it. I think it's kind of cool
Mhm.
they're making it.
Yeah.
Illumination, who is known for the Despicable Me movies, and what's the pet one? Secret Life of Pets.
I wonder if this is what I was going to bring up next. I think Illumination. I think
Illumination.
is it
Base
the Super
where
Mario Brothers movie?
it is
Okay.
Mario. Do do
Yeah.
do do. That's right. So I'll be honest. I don't have a lot of nostalgia for this property because I was more PlayStation than
hmm
I think I only knew one person who had a Nintendo GameCube. You know what?
Well, I
When I
did,
look back,
but
you did. That's right. You have so many
Nintendo
consoles.
Nintendo GameCube is maybe my favorite game console ever. It
Really?
had so many amazing games. But I'm more Nintendo. I briefly only like the first console I ever played a video game on was Sega Genesis.
That's
And
right.
so we were a Sega family for that time period. But then as soon as my family got a Nintendo 64, and that was like the first game console I ever got for Christmas, I've been a Nintendo fan primarily ever since. And it was in the last honestly, like after I graduated from high school and I started to just uh get into like the nerdy choices of like finding emulators online and trying out a lot of old Nintendo games that I never got to experience, particularly Super Nintendo games. At this point in my life, I think that I'm sorry, 90s kids, but who are on this side of the thing, but I think you're freaking nuts if you think that Sega Genesis is better than Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo has like 10 absolutely incredible games for every one good Sega Genesis game.
Oh well, I guess them's fighting words, but
I'd feel confident about it. Like
yes.
I wasn't even really around for that debate, but it's just like looking back at the catalog, it's not even close. To me, I would compare it to uh I personally feel that this is kind of how PlayStation and Xbox is now. Xbox doesn't have much.
Oh,
Like
exactly.
it really doesn't. Particularly with like original games and stuff. PlayStation has like if you just want a variety of games, you should absolutely go PlayStation. I
Oh
don't have as
yes.
much of a dog in that fight because I'm more just Nintendo. I'm playing the video game version of a centrist in that because Nintendo isn't usually considered part of that fight anymore. They're kind of their own thing. So not really part of that, but like back when it was a fight, I think Nintendo, and to this day, is like the greatest video game company that there ever was. So,
Yes. You know, this just reminded me of something. Wasn't there, because you'd probably know, because I guess now that I think I do remember you having a Nintendo GameCube, so I guess there were two people I knew who
mhm.
had it. Wasn't there a thing where you could like attach something to the bottom of the GameCube and play Game Boy games on it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if
Or
I had that. What I know, what I
but it
had,
did
which is pretty
exist?
cool. I think so. Uh, I can't say for sure. I think so. It did. It sounds right because the GameCube had a lot of different like attachment things. What I did have, which is really awesome, was there was this thing you just slotted onto the top of it and flipped it up, and it was a screen. All you needed to
Oh,
do was plug it in, and uh, uh, I don't even remember how it's crazy that it was possible with this screen thing. But one time my family when I was a kid, so like probably in 2003 or something, my family went on a vacation and which had involved like a 10-hour drive or something, and I was
oh
playing
boy.
Nintendo GameCube in the car. And
So
that
you didn't
is
have to plug it. It was like battery.
well
You were able to charge it or something.
I'm wondering if we used like a cigarette lighter, or that seems like a little bit too much power. Maybe there was some battery or something, but because of the screen, I was able to do that.
Yeah.
And it was just like I was playing a full on video, not even a Game Boy, a full on video game console in the car. It's
Oh yes.
probably my most spoiled, awesome story, even though. Yeah, it was awesome playing. I think I remember playing Sonic, because at this point, Sega games were on Nintendo. So
Yes.
I was playing Sonic Adventure 2, which is a great game. So
Yes. Our parents, our grandparents, it's always interesting how back in the days they'd always be so desperate for cigarettes that they needed a specific cigarette lighter in the
yeah,
car
we
just
still
in
call them
case
that.
they forgot to bring it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
speaking of Mario, I don't have that much nostalgia for it. Like most people I knew, and this also I know for sure with you,
Mhm.
you were one of them. Everyone I knew kind of had a PS2 and a Game Boy. At at least that's what everyone I knew had.
Yeah.
Specifically, the green Game Boy,
Yes, the
the
Game
flip
Boy
one.
Advance SD. Yeah, I had that.
Yes.
No, I just like that is true for almost all my friends as well. Most of my friends did not have a GameCube and had a PS2. And then they all had, like, I have a lot of friends who their only experience with Nintendo through their lives was the handheld consoles, Game
Yes.
Boy, and that's very common for people. They got a Game Boy, a DS. I have friends who like their only Nintendo games they really play are like Pokemon, because they had the handheld consoles and stuff. I always had both. Well, actually, I had a falling out with Nintendo because they had a falling out with themselves. They had a tough period. It's where like you have an uncle and you don't see them for a few years because they're having a hard
Yes.
time. Nintendo started that hard time. Their rock bottom was like a year after the Wii came out, and it was
Oh,
like,
I remember the Wii because let me tell you something. Before you mention, I think I need to tell a little
yeah,
thing.
mhm,
So I remember one Christmas, my cousins got a Wii, and my sister wanted to get a Wii, and she came to me and said, "Hey, you want to pool our money and we can get a Wii?" And I said, "Hell no! If I'm gonna put any money towards a video game thing, it's gonna be a PlayStation 3." But she
mhm,
decided to buy it, and I was just like, "Fine, you know what? I'll buy the Spider-Man." I think it was Shared Dimensions. It was the one that had the
yeah,
four actors come back and play it on the Wii. It was one of the most frustrating experiences I ever had because
yeah,
they were just like, move it. I'm just like, I am moving the stupid thing.
mhm,
And I eventually was just like, this was like day 2 of the Wii. I put down the controller and I said, never again.
yeah.
And years later, I luckily got to get on PS3 the week before it left their digital store. But that was my experience with the Wii.
Yeah, and I actually on that, I know we're spending a lot of time on this, but like I think that for me, Nintendo is almost like DC for you. I really love Nintendo that much, and like in moments where you might think like, oh, DC is like they're making such bad decisions, they have these great properties, but the leadership is completely fumbling on what to do with them. That's how I feel the era of the Wii and the Wii U was with Nintendo, because they lost track of the fact that like what Nintendo is all about to me is during the Nintendo Entertainment System, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, and GameCube. Their whole thing was they had some of the best character designs and properties in video
Yes.
gaming, and they also had some of the most impeccably like scientifically perfect game design, like just how to design levels and make controls feel good and everything that makes gaming good. They are the best at that. They're not the best at graphical quality, and like the current consoles don't do what the Xbox and the PlayStation do. The quality of the graphics is lower, but the quality of the design of the games and how things function and level design and stuff is the masterclass. They're better than anyone at that. And during the Wii and Wii U era, they were relying on gimmicks to try and get
Yeah.
people to buy their consoles. And this is starting to become controversial because I know a lot of people who are like in between millennial and Gen Z, and also just Gen Z, who are nostalgic now of the Wii and like are nostalgic of like the Wii menu music and like Wii Sports and also some of the games on the Wii, such as Mario Galaxy, and that's it, because it's probably the only good game that ever came out on that console. But even like every single mainline game that ever came out on the Wii is like the worst game in that franchise. Because even Mario Galaxy and Mario Galaxy 2 don't rely on gimmicks. Like they're just regular 3D Mario games, but they're leagues worse than anything like Mario Sunshine and Mario 64, which were the 3D Mario games before that, are like near perfect games to me. Then Mario Odyssey is the one that just came out on the Switch a few years ago, and it's also like perfect. They just completely came back from this dark age with an absolute like perfect game. It might be the best Mario game in my opinion. And they just they fumbled it for a long time, but I'm just really happy to say that ever since I believe 2017 when they came out with the Nintendo Switch, they've been on again. All of their mainline games are generally incredible. I'll get to some of that in the video game section at the end. But what we're talking about now is the Super Mario Brothers movie, which was my next one too. So transitioning into my next one as well. And so, yeah, that's my history with the franchise Mario. We could have had a special about this just from my interest in the franchise. But if I were to rank Nintendo franchises, Mario is not my favorite. Like I like Zelda, both in characters and games. I like Zelda more. I like Metroid more. I think I like Donkey Kong more. So it's not my favorite, but I acknowledge it as like the face of Nintendo, and it makes sense that this would be the movie.
He is their Mickey Mouse.
Yes, and by the way, also my dream now that Super Nintendo World is opening. There's like I believe it's at Universal Studios.
I think that sounds right.
Like
right, because Illumination is owned by Universal.
Yeah. So there's the Super Mario World theme park at Universal Studios in Florida. That's the only thing that's ever going to make me go to Florida again in my life. That is a dream to me. I desperately desire to go there someday.
Is it just anyway, in Florida? Is it going to the California one too?
At this point, I think it's just at the Florida one and in Japan. Okay. There's already one open in Japan, I believe. But as far as this movie goes, I don't know. I'm guessing we didn't talk about when the trailer dropped.
Right.
Obviously,
yes.
When the casting came out about this movie, there was a lot of talk because people were kind of joking about it because Chris Pratt is in everything. And it was kind of hilariously weird casting decision that they would choose for Chris Pratt to be Mario. Like a lot of people saying the voice actor who's been Mario for the last like 20 years should have been it. Like he's, I can see where that might, like, I could understand that not being a good decision because, he's a video game voice actor. It's a different skill, I think. But
right, like when you hear like when Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill talk about the Arkham games, they have to say every line, but multiple ways, depending on how the player chooses something. Like they'll say over there. Now say it like you've been hurt a little bit over there, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. It is a different skill. That said, I almost still think it would be a better decision than Chris Pratt, though, because why
they chose him. It's for stunt casting.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to get into, which is just like, it's just such a sad example of stunt casting. Like just that Mario has such a specific voice and like something that seems like hard to do. And someone who's like both not really a voice actor. I mean, obviously he has done a lot of it, but both not really classically a voice actor and not someone who does Mario. It's very bizarre. And I guess my reaction to the trailer has kind of been, I didn't necessarily expect this to be good, but it looks amazing to me. Like the animation is
Yeah,
it
it's one of the
it
best looking animated films. It
I was
perfectly captures
stunned.
it.
I was stunned by the animation. It looks so good. And then a lot of these other like voice actors, some of them you could consider them also stunt casting. Everyone else sounds amazing. Jack Black as Bowser sounds amazing. I I believe it's Keegan Michael Key as Toad. I thought he did really great. We obviously from the little we see, uh, it really is just like it's like this trailer made me feel 10 out of 10 excitement, except knock it down to a 0.5 because that one or two lines that Mario has, it's really just like it's just Chris Pratt. I
Yes.
just, it's it's like it almost like it
He
broke
didn't
my
become
immersion
the
in it.
character. It's just Mario became Chris Pratt.
Yeah. And yeah, I've seen people trying to defend it with like it would be exhausting for someone to be like, Yahoo, let's go to the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yahoo!
It would be exhausting for that to be in the whole movie. And I get that. I think that you're right and that something should be done to tone it down. I don't think that this is the right way to do that though. But we'll see when the movie comes out how it actually pans out in the full film. But
We'll see. But yeah, it sounds like we're both looking forward to it.
yeah, I don't know if you had any other thoughts about it, but I just I had a lot of thoughts about it. So,
No, like I said, I don't have that much nostalgia for Mario, but when I did play my Game Boy, which I should try to find someday,
mhm.
somewhere, but the one I would play the most was the Mario one I had.
Yeah, I wonder what that. It could have been Mario World 3 or something.
I think it was one that
Um,
combined two into one, and you could choose one or
oh,
two.
okay, cool. Yeah, yeah, I'm really excited. I think it looks great.